All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 17th annual Summer Gazebo Readings. We're very proudly presented by the Kiwanis Club of Oceanside and the Oceanside Library. We thank all of our sponsors. Let me start right now. If you have not received the program, please raise your hand. Angie's coming around with programs. I do want to ask one thing. How many people here, this is your first gazebo? Okay, all right, good. Well, I'm hoping that you'll enjoy. I thought a few things to get out of the way before we get started. So we of course always thank Kiwanis for everything. We thank the school district for allowing us to use Schoolhouse Green. We always thank Bob and Betsy Transom for spearheading this space. This had been an old school. If you need to use the facilities across the street, the fire district is generous and allows us to use it, and we always appreciate that. There's 50, 25, 25s in the back. Again, for those of you who don't know, 50% of the pot goes to Kiwanis and the Friends of the Oceanside Library. The 25% goes to tonight's winner, and 25% gets rolled over. Please make sure you look at the sponsors. We are very indebted to our sponsors, and I'm going to read through them. I won't do that every week, but I want to do it tonight. Our premium sponsors are Lloyd Abrams, who's here, Bender Insurance Agency, Clinical Delivery Systems, Linda and Paul Engel, who are here. The Faust family, in memory of Erica Fine, Gary Fish. I thought I saw Gary here before. Desiree Fusco, Esquire, the H Academy, E.W. Howell, Ellen Igo, Angela and myself, Ruth and Joan Iverson. They're in the back. Monty Leeper, Marianne and Sandra Lair, Greg Lisi from Forcelli, Towers Funeral Home, Joanna and Joe Volpe, and the New York Building Congress. And our sponsors are the Badalamenti family, Mike Graham and Vinny Staffa, who are fire commissioners. Mike was here before. Chris and Rob Mara. Chris is here. Ellen Pickus, Biagio and Rosano and family. Pat Roth. I really got to correct this. It was the margins thing, and so there's misspellings here. Laura Ryder, our town of Hempstead councilwoman. Mary Lee and Ed Schaufberg. Did I see Mary Lee? Yeah, Mary Lee's back there. The Scholl family. Sandy is here, and J.R. Turek. And so we thank all our sponsors. They also have program patrons. I was saying to our readers before I bring up the first one, I went back and looked, and in 2007, in our second week, one of our readers was Ada Limon, who is now the Poet Laureate of the United States of America. So she sat right around here. That's why Lloyd wanted to know where she sat. She sat right around here. And so who knows? You may be listening to a future National Poet Laureate. We do have our Nassau County Poet Laureate is here. Where did I see her? Paula, there she is. And Deborah Hauser, I don't see her here today, but Deborah is a regular here at the Gazebo, and she was just named the Suffolk County Poet Laureate. So you're in for a great time. I'm going to bring on our first reader. We don't really do big introductions here. We send out emails. If you're not on our email list, please make sure that you check. If you were on an email list and you didn't get it, please, that means that you at some point unsubscribed to the library's emails, where I have ported all of the Gazebo emails. And so if you stay unsubscribed, you're not going to get anything. So just tell them at the desk and we'll send you a resubscribe link. I can't resubscribe you. So with having said all of that, President Mike was here. President Mike is on the phone. I don't know if he wanted to say something. Maybe we'll get him up here in between readers. But right now, kicking off our June 2023 17th year, Brian Geraghty.
Perpetual problem every time I read somewhere. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Brian, and I have a few poems for everyone. First one is called Hive Mind. Hive Mind. A hornet nest has awoken, the gilded honeycomb calm of the morning shattered. Wasps of doubt swirl in my skull. My racing thoughts sprout wings and carry me away. The entire week flies by in my field of vision, and I have yet to take my first step. It's been a bag of mixed stripes, some days black, others yellow. I have learned to live between the lines. On the days that sting strongest, I remain impenetrable to the untrained eye, bruised black, wishing for yellow on the inside. Thank you. Second piece is called Frostbitten. In 1694, poet John Donne wrote, "No man is an island. Maybe not, but you are an iceberg sticking your neck out just above the surface. That is all you let anyone see, including yourself. Your dark dimensions and depths are friendless as they numb out beneath the sea. Maybe you're not an iceberg, but you are a glacier, a chunk of ice drifting through life. Frozen you remain, no certain purpose ever ascertained. Maybe you're not a glacier, but you are an igloo, building blocks perfectly placed, a fortress formed just large enough to fit only one person, you. You remain pure tundra emotionless, yet convinced that you are sunbathing in an oasis. No man is an island, but you are an iceberg, bracing for the day you crash head-on into yourself." Thank you. I have two more. This next one is called Scarecrow. Scared and sacred share the same letters. I notice this on the same day I read that crows are self-aware and can ponder their own thoughts. My mind is perpetually a tree filled with blackbirds brainstorming the demise of my past and future selves. Half of the time, I try to saw myself in half, divorce myself from the part of me that tears me apart, but I, unlike the self-aware crow, cannot fly away and am left to jog in place. Scared and sacred share the same letters. This rings true like a mug full of sea foam, salted and smooth on the way down, leaving a thirst quenched and unquenchable, revitalizing and ionizing. Stand steady as the waves crash against crow-filled craw, vision converting to blurs where the beak of thoughts turns to wingless birds. And the final piece that I have is called My Name is Carnival. It's dedicated to Jackson C. Frank, who's a musician who wrote a song of the same name. My name is Carnival. Sometimes the arcade claw hangs empty. The prizes we expect to walk away with don't cash out, but we are left with something different. The experience of learning to lose something. The experience that the amorphous shape of abundant nothingness can be handed to someone else like the overstuffed neon green gorilla at a carnival. I can sit with the nothingness feeling cold and empty, or be comforted by a space bereft of material things and fill it with me. My thoughts, my words, my emotions, my selfless, selfish reflection on the fact that I am enough. My mind's been playing games with me. The games change second to second, bouncing like a wistful, wide-eyed child's ping pong ball above golden fin wonders we can't seem to win. The sloshing sensation in me wants to speak up and say that we do not need to win them. They live within us, swimming through every fiber of our being. Some days I wish to get off this ride, but the bar has been slammed shut and I can't seem to wave down the man operating the machine that everyone tells me is there. I do not see him. I must sit with that nothingness too, reflect on it and see how it can be as infinite or as empty as I can conjure, as comforting as the plush lifestyle that has yet to cash out, that is within arm's reach, within my metallic grasp, protected by glass that some days I just can't seem to maneuver around as the time runs down. If I am lucky, tomorrow will hand me another token to have a chance at feeling the tangible comfort of the nothingness I feel now. Thank you.
Brian Geraghty. All right, so we talked about what the sponsors do. Oceanside Kiwanis uses their money to, we send a ton of underprivileged kids to summer camp, both from Oceansiders and also military kids. So we're always happy with that. The Friends of the Oceanside Library, we're using the money towards sponsoring literary programs, particularly dealing with poetry. You may or may not know, the Oceanside Library has a poet in residence, and she is Christina Rowe, who's right up here. I don't know how many other libraries have a poet in residence, but we do. We try to provide a lot of support to poets, and we have a lot of great plans coming forward as we roll things out. And sneaking in here is the brand new Suffolk County Poet Laureate, Deborah Hauser. All right. So without any further ado, our second reader of the year, Marsha Nelson. Let's see
Thanks. Everyone. It's good to be here. And my first poem, I'm going to dedicate it to a fellow poet. She passed away last year. Her name is Loretta Diane Walker. I don't know if anyone knows her here. No? Okay. And she's from Texas. All right. Requiem for Loretta. I cry at the desperate chirping of a lost baby sparrow, its injured wing too fragile to lift it from fear. Maybe my sorrow is for all lost and fallen things. That's an epigraph from Loretta, from her poem called I Am a Fallen Sky. It's a long way from New York to Odessa, Texas, even longer to where you've traveled, my dear friend. From the moment I heard of your passing, I've struggled to accept the loss of a colossal talent and a genuinely kind soul. You have departed our realm. The great divide cannot measure the depth of this fallen sky. My thoughts are too deep for words. Is it the scythe or the sickle, the tools of the reaper's harvest, where the silver cord is severed? O death, where is thy sting? I discern the length of our days as a drop in the vast ocean. Suddenly, the rush to answer timely emails and the anxiety over 401ks have ebbed and flowed away. Loretta, you are a bright and shining star. And that's the Requiem for Loretta. The next poem is called Rebirth. This is also a tribute to a young deacon who passed away a few years ago. He was part of the drama ministry at the church, and his name was Robert Fuller. Rebirth. Winter came fierce this year, its frigid fingers gripping. I'm always in awe of its cool, white beauty, milky and pure, yet recoil from its harsh reality, lonely and cold. Things die in the winter. Watching from my window, the sun sends warm, buttery kisses over my face and chest. Soft powder falls quietly from a weighed down branch, lush and green with life last season, now dry and frozen. Crystal shimmers blow past my window. Buried deep beneath is the bud of new birth. I think of you, muscular and strong, moving props and acting, laughing, busy behind the prison walls, helping blind eyes to see and soothing the fears at Christmas of the children left behind. That was last spring. But as the leaves withered and fell and the chill tinged the air, I did not sense your unease or know of your disease. I watched as your weight shed, your frame withered and my heart turned to dread. I prayed for the breath of life to blow on you. It's almost spring again, and the promise of life captures me. I stand in awe, watching nature's symphony played out in the same hospital you died in. I watch as my cousin holds his firstborn son in his arms, and I marvel at rebirth, rebirth. Okay, and and my last poem is called Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson. And that's a tribute to Juneteenth. Okay, and if by the show of hands, who knows this poem? And who knows that it's turned into a song, an actual song that, you know, the African Americans make. It's like a Black anthem. They sing it at, you know, sports events, whatever events, and they sing it. So I'm not much of a singer, okay? So I'm just gonna read the first stanza, and I'm gonna call up Lady Hope, who is the singer, and she's gonna just give you a taste of it, just the first stanza of it. Lift every voice and sing. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. And that's the first stanza. And she's going to come up and just give you just a taste of the first stanza. This is Lady Hope. Her real name is Idorinian, aka Lady Hope. Lift every voice and sing. Lift every voice and sing, till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Thank you. Thank you. I couldn't do that. Thank you, Lady Hope. Thank you, everybody.
Marsha Nelson and Lady Hope. We're laughing and talking to each other because Idorinian and I have been in little boxes probably for about 3 years now, because she's been one of the poets. For those of you who don't know, we started it during lockdown. We actually started doing poetry, I think, 2 or 3 nights a week. And we've developed this kind of national or international group of poets who have continued. So we still do from September to May. We do 2 nights a month on Monday night. So please, you know, come and join us afterwards. But we shut down obviously for the summer while we do this this program. Next week, for week 2, we will have Nassau County Poet Laureate Paula Kersey, and then a Knight of Sarahs, Sarah Baruto, Sarah Cahill Marone, and Sarah Hosey. And if it was, I would tell you that it was coincidence that I put all the Sarahs together, but I didn't. I did that on purpose. And so without any further ado, let's bring up Oceanside's own Elizabeth Rowe.
Really? Okay. All right. Thank you. Hi, everybody. My husband and I recently saw Camelot Broadway, and it brought back to mind the volume of lore that has been written and told and retold about Sir King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. And so it put me in mind of sharing a Camelot story with you tonight. And it is the story of Sir Gawain and the Dame Ragnell. And it begins with Arthur himself, who was out hunting one day with his knights and became separated from them when he ran or galloped after a very fast stag through the forest. And then he lost the stag and found himself alone and in very unfamiliar territory. He felt the presence of something, and looking up, and he saw two large black towers of a castle that was unknown to him. And then his horse began pawing nervously. And in a minute, Arthur too heard the thundering hooves of an approaching horse and rider. And there before him, galloping at full speed, was a knight dressed completely in black armor on a huge black steed, right up to Arthur's face, where he stopped, reined in, and as greeting said, "You are trespassing on my property." "Sir," said Arthur politely, "forgive me, for I did not mean to intrude. I came by mistake. I got lost hunting a deer. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Arthur of Camelot." "I don't care who you are," said the knight. "You are on my property," as he drew his broadsword and said, "You shall pay." "Good sir," said Arthur, "behold, you are in full battle armor. I wear nothing but hunting hose and tunic. This would not be a fair fight. Allow me to go back to Camelot and fetch my own armor and my good sword Excalibur, and I will come back and fight you fairly." "Who are you to dictate terms to me? Oh no, rather I will tell you my terms," said the knight. "And I will not be unmerciful. I will give you an alternative. I will give you a riddle, and if you answer it correctly, all will be forgiven. Furthermore, I will give you a full year to ponder the answer, whereupon you will come back here dressed as you are, and lacking the correct answer, you will feel the full wrath of my sword." "Very well," said Arthur. "You have my word. What is your question?" "Just this," said the knight. "What is it that a woman wants most?" And with that, he turned and rode away, calling over his shoulder, "Until next year." Arthur was not worried. He had a full year to ask every woman he saw what it was that women want most. And he began to do so immediately. He asked women of the village as well as women of the court, washerwomen, ladies in waiting, all of them, what is it that a woman wants most? And for all of those that he asked, he got just as many answers. Jewels, riches, fine clothing, a good husband, children, grandchildren, all the joy, less the responsibility. Servants to do the hard work, a cook, on and on over the weeks and the months that he asked every woman he met. He could not find one answer that stood out among all the others until at last, indeed, a full year had passed, and Arthur still did not have a definite answer. But true to his word, he forbade his knights to follow him as he went through the forest to meet the Black Knight, dressed only for the hunt. As he emerged onto that now somewhat familiar path, he saw an old hag of a woman bent over, leaning on her stick by the side of the road. The irony was not lost on him. Why not one last woman? And so he pulled in and stopped and said, "Good woman, a word if you will." The woman turned, and Arthur beheld the ugliest creature he had ever seen. Her skin was all mottled and leather hard. The one tooth she had was brown and crooked. Heavy lids drooped over watery eyes, and wiry wisps of colorless hair stuck out from her head. "Good day to you, my noble sire. What is it that you desire?" "Have we met then?" said Arthur. "I am Lady Ragnell. You know me not, but I know you as Arthur of Camelot." "Well then, my lady," said Arthur, "I have a question for you. What is it that women want most?" Lady Ragnell responded, "If the answer I give be true, what might I expect from you?" "Fair enough," said Arthur. "It's my very life. Name it, good lady. Whatever you wish, up to half my kingdom shall be yours." She smiled and then beckoned with a crooked finger that he come closer. Arthur leaned over as she whispered in his ear. And as he sat back up in the saddle, he was smiling. Of course, he thought, I myself would want nothing less. And as he turned to thank her, she had disappeared. But then he heard the hoofs coming, and he looked up, and indeed the Black Knight descended upon him very quickly, stopped, drew his broadsword. "We meet again," he said. "Ah, excuse me. A simple matter of formality. What is it that a woman wants most?" "What a woman wants most," said Arthur, "is her own sovereignty, the power to make decisions for herself." "Oh, no, the night you must have been talking with my sister Ragnell. No!" And before Arthur's very eyes, the knight and his horse disintegrated into a pile of ash and were blown away. He turned to go home. And the sentries who saw him approaching, alive and safe, alerted the whole castle, and a feast was prepared in his honor. There was merriment galore, and in full festivity of food and music and wine and dancing, the doors of the great hall fell open with a bang, and everyone stopped to find framed in the doorway an old hag leaning on her stick. The knights ran to exclude her, and Arthur called, "No, no, stop. Let her approach." The tap, tap, tapping of her stick was all that could be heard in the great hall as every eye widened at her approach. Slowly, she came up to Arthur, who took her hand, turned and introduced her to the court. This is the Lady Ragnell, whose answer kept me from certain death. And then he turned to her and said, "What is it, lady, that you wish? Tell me, it shall be yours."
I wish to be wed, your majesty, to one of your knights. Now, who shall it be?
A communal gasp was heard in the great hall. The knights, to a man, shivered and shrank in their seats collectively, while the Dame Ragnell slowly walked around the table. She did not stop at Sir Lancelot, the bravest of all. And she too passed the noble Sir Galahad and kept going to the very end of the table, where she stopped in front of Sir Gawain, the youngest and fairest of all the knights. The loyal knight, without a beat, was on one knee, took her hand and said, "You have saved my good king's life. Will you now consent to be my wife?" The marriage was held in that very hall that very night. It was not a gala affair. Most people left right after the vows. And eventually, the bride and groom made their way back to the bridal chamber, which had been hastily prepared during the ceremony. Once there, Gawain politely retired to an alcove off to the side, while his bride undressed and prepared for bed and slipped in under the covers. After a time, he emerged, got into his side of the bed, lay down, and closed his eyes. Ragnell sat up.
What's this? No kiss? Do you hide from your bride?
Sir Gawain straightened a little contrite. "Forgive me, lady," he said, "but I did not wake up this morning intending to be a husband tonight. And you yourself must admit that we are from very different worlds."
Must one be born to nobility to conduct oneself with civility?
Sir Gawain turned to face her now, a little ashamed. Hadn't he thought very much the same thing himself? How many times had he considered his own luck in being born the nephew of the great King Arthur? How often had he looked at the hard-working peasants and thought, "There would for fortune go I, and would I be any less of a man?" He was touched by her words. And so he faced her now and said, "Lady, we have such different expectations. I was born to comfort and abundance. You have so little and expect so little and are so very poor."
Poor? It's true, you rich live behind thick castle walls for defenses. I much prefer my humble hut with all of nature to please my senses.
These words warmed Sir Gawain's heart. Hadn't he, more often than not, upon returning from a day's adventure, lingered a little, not wanting to follow the other knights across the moat inside to revelry and feasting? Hadn't he yearned to stay outside and sleep under the stars of a sweet summer night and feel freer than he ever did inside those castle walls? He felt an affinity toward this woman and actually turned to her, took her hand, and dared to tell her what he was really thinking. Behold me, lady. I am in the full strength and vigor of my youth, and you are so very old and ugly.
It's true, she said. As for youth and beauty, I've turned that page. But I can offer you the comfort and the wisdom of my age.
Such understanding words touched Gawain's heart so tenderly, so much so that he squeezed her hand and leaned over and kissed her cheek. And when he straightened up from that kiss, he beheld the most beautiful maiden he had ever seen. "No!" he screamed. "What manner of sorcery is this? Tell me now and tell me true. Who are you?" Oh, dear Sir Gawain," said Ragnar. "What you see before you now is my true form. Years ago, a wicked witch quarreled with my mother, and she put an enchantment on my brother and me, dooming him forever to defend an enchanted castle and create ridiculous riddles, and condemning me to roam the countryside as an old hag, until which time a gentleman of his own accord should kiss me. And by doing that, you have broken half of that spell." Greatly relieved, Gawain gazed upon his beautiful wife. But suddenly he blinked and said, "Wait, what do you mean, broken half the spell?" "As you see me before you in my true form, I will remain for half a day, every day. The other half, I shall revert to the old crone that you first met. So tell me, my lord, how would you have me? As an old crone among your friends during the day and your young wife at night? Or shall you step out with the young, beautiful wife among your friends during the day and have the old hag alone at night with you?" Gawain thought a long moment, and then he turned to her and he said, "That choice, my lady, I think should be yours to make." Ragnell leapt upon him, grabbed his neck and covered him with kisses, and said, "Oh, dear, dear Gawain, that is the one answer that can break the spell entirely." Which is how Sir Gawain and the Dame Ragnell began their married life together, looking forward to growing old together. Thank you.
Elizabeth Rowe. And now to round out our last reader for this evening, who I called out of turn, by the way, which probably surprised Elizabeth and Lloyd. Ladies and gentlemen, Lloyd Abrams.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen and dog. I never could figure out exactly what I should hold, to do this, and I'm here again, batting cleanup at this wonderful place just notice the rose bushes. You'll need that prop for the coming poem. And for me, things don't change very much. Still, we're still the same kind of people, a little bit older maybe. And and with my poems, which are pretty the oldest ones I wrote, I'm going to take you on a nostalgia journey. And not only will you be taking the journey, but I'll be with you along the way. So buckle up and giddy up. My first poem is called Upstaged in Oceanside. A breezy, muggy Monday, the last night of the summer readings at the Oceanside Gazebo, 2012. I usually bring my dog, who's almost 12. Perhaps Jimmy, the Wheaton Terrier, doesn't relate to poetry, but he loves the attention, especially the crumb cake, which they don't serve anymore, but I can still taste it. At the 4th of July barbecue, Jimmy's in doggy nirvana. There's an open read scheduled on this late August evening. Perhaps several scheduled readers had bailed out. I signed the sheet. Slot number 2 is free. Tony calls the first 4 of us up, tells us to read just one short piece. That's Herb Siegel, goes first. I'm next. As I fiddle with the microphone, Jimmy steps off the platform, sniffs a rosebush, ergo the rosebush, lifts his leg, and starts piddling. And piddles. And piddles. And piddles some more. He takes the longest pee I can remember. When he's done, when he's finally done, I say thank you very much. Get laughter and a round of applause. Only then is it my turn to read a poem entitled Old Fart. Thank you. Old Fart. And here it is. I know none of you could probably relate to this, but just, stretch your imaginations. During our vacation, my grandsons, with appropriate trepidation and wariness, am I coming? Can you hear me okay? Okay. Again, clambered over the boulders to immerse themselves in rock-strewn river. I wanted to join them, but the first time I'd left behind my water shoes. The second time my swimsuit was up at the car. I could have easily gone and changed, but I just didn't. I'm afraid of becoming that fat old fart, sitting at water's edge, watching the others having fun, using them as an excuse an arthritic knee, the easy wounding and bleeding caused by blood thinners, being overweight, not being able to fit through narrow openings, not willing to risk being scraped by boulders, by rock faces, by my aging, aching ego. Thank you. Thank you. Grandpa. Watch me, Grandpa. I put down the paper, grin with delight, shout, attaboy, way to go. Don't have the bumper sticker or license plate frame, the coffee mug, baseball cap, or t-shirt proclaiming me world's greatest grandpa, world's best grandpa, whatever. Wonder if I even qualify. Lately, I've been feeling more like a grandpa. I've taken the things slower than grandma, who became their grandma right away, and now realize there's almost nothing better than a little boy's smell and a squeeze and a hug and my nose nuzzling the littlest's soft cheek. Today, there's 0, 2, 4, and 8. Tomorrow, maybe the day after, there'll be 10, 12, 14, and 18. And perhaps younger ones may be joining our lollipop gang, squealing with glee. Read to me, chase me, play with me. Are you watching me, Grandpa? Thank you. And we only have grandsons. Now they're 8, 11, 14, almost 17, 19, and 22. And I'm only 35. So, do the math. After the kids visit, we hug our daughter, our son-in-law, our son, our daughter-in-law. We hug and kiss their boys, hug and squeeze them again. Can't get enough. After they're buckled in, we reach for one last touch. When the oldest one says, "Bye, Grandma, bye, Pa," and waves his miniature hand. When his baby brother blows us a kiss. When the littlest big eyes us and smiles, I want to grab them, hold them, possess their spirit. But of course, I know I can't. When their Camry, their Odyssey pulls away from the curb, a wrenched away part of me leaves too, never to be recaptured, retrieved. I want to, need to, have to believe that that part will somehow live on. As the taillights recede, I reach for Grandma's hand. We sat out under the stars, walk back up the path to clean up the mess left behind in our empty house, though the echoes remain. I'm not going to ask you to sing "When I Fell in Love, It Will Be Forever." That's it. That's enough. As they say, Sein genug. And this poem goes back 54 years. When I fell in love. A warm September Sunday, a drive to the cloisters, lush surroundings, stained glass windows, the unicorn tapestry, and you're wearing that blue miniskirt. Oh my Lord. Then left arming it in my 68 Chevelle with my right cuddling you real close down the elevated West Side Highway with the windows rolled down and WNEW-FM up high, through the tunnel to the Gowanus to the belt, then into that tiny roadside parking lot under the Verrazano Bridge, where I just couldn't get enough of you. It was then that it hit me, and I knew that you were the one for me. Yeah. It's good. Yeah, okay. Friday morning around 1 a.m. Kissed her cheek while she was asleep, pulled up blankets that had slid down. "Thanks," she murmured, let out a sigh. Slipped under the covers, switched off the lamp. On my right side, stretched out my leg, soft skin, yearning for her warmth. Reached out and placed my hand on her crown, barely touching, not to wake her. Thus comforted, I closed my eyes. Okay. Countdown. How many days to go, I've asked. They know I keep track. Counting today, I ask. No, not today. So I tell them 18 class days, then another 8 until our high school will once again wither and whimper its last gasping breath. But hey, who's counting, I ask, fooling myself that I'm mocking only the others who are counting down their days, who aren't asking the real questions of me, of themselves, by me, of myself. How are you feeling about it? How do I feel about it? What are you going to do? What will I do? Who will you become? How will you define yourself? Who are you going to be when you finally grow up? I'm still counting down those last 26 with a vengeance until it's time to begin the rest of my life. Thank you. A sycamore, you know what sycamore trees look like? Those are the mottled ones that like shed their bark, unlike dogs, they shed their bark. Sycamores, I used to hate the sycamores. Their stinky, sticky, scaly buds, mottled, exfoliating trunks, camouflaged, they better hide from me. I used to hate the sycamores, They're full of make-believes, brown, crisp, falling to the ground, crunching under my bicycle tires. It's only the middle of summer. How dare they drop so early? How dare they force me to face another first day of school approaching, another term of disillusionment, another counting down to the end of June. But I don't count down anymore, and I no longer hate the sycamores. Last night, okay, my grandma. This is one of the first pieces I wrote about 16 years ago. But my grandma Annie, who was she lived to 90 years old. We used to joke, and this was not too much of a joke, that she lived half her life because half of it was spent in depression, very severe depression. Anyway, the last night I hugged my grandma in a dream and breathed in her silky, silvery hair. She was even shorter than I remembered. She had to stand on my feet on tiptoes, like I used to when I danced with her so many years before. "Hi, my lady," she used to say, "you're such a boychicle," laughing a whole body grandma laugh, shaking her grandma head as she poured me 7-Up from a green glass bottle, capped with a red rubber stopper I could never get to work. I got to hug my grandma Annie, but never to thank her for those couple of pennies, for telling my mother, "It's all right, don't worry, he can go by himself," to the candy store at the end of the block, where I took my sweet time choosing, but always picked out a couple of strands of chocolate licorice and let one soft into my mouth, savoring it, relishing every bite, every swallow, as I dawdled my way back to grandma's. I hugged my grandma in a dream last night and got to say goodbye. Thank you.
All right, Lloyd Abrams. Let's hear it for all 4 of our readers here tonight. I'm going to pick tonight's winner. Tonight's winner wins $33. Woo! All right, not looking. And it goes to Joan Iverson. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We look forward to seeing you again next Monday here on the Green. Oh, geez. I'm like in a daze tonight. You're right. What we also do is we choose another 5 that don't win anything tonight, but go into the major prize at the end of the summer. And that would be Petkowski. Thank you. Christina. Don't win anything. Don't get all excited. You don't win anything. But you could win Lloyd. And one more. Because again, I can't count. Here we go. Christina again. All right. So thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. We look forward to seeing you again next week.